Okay, it is Saturday, August 12th, 2023. Yesterday was the 20th anniversary of the day my boyfriend and I met. We met at work, and then the following day I saw him again. We didn't work in the same area. We weren't going to have to, rely on each other, or there wasn't going to be any power plays or anything like that. We worked on opposite sides of the building. But anyway, um, I flirted with him a lot because I thought he was really cute when I met him the day before. So on August 12th, he came into the front lobby of the building. I flirted with him. He went back to his side of the building, to his cubicle. Then he called me about 10 minutes later and asked me out. So we went out to lunch. We went across the street to a mall, had a sandwich, talked. It was a little bit of a walk though, because when I say it was across the street, what I mean is there was this big, long yard. I mean, and a driveway. It was really long. It was in front of the work building because the work building was on a rather large grounds. So we had to get that far just to get to the road. And then we had to walk up a large parking lot and into the mall. So we had a bit of a walk and conversation. Anyway, so after we had our sandwich at the mall, that was our first date. That was during lunch hour. Then we went back to work. And about 10 minutes later, he called me and said, "Would you like to go for a walk in the park after work?" So we had our second walk. And we walked through a park. Then he took me back to his place and introduced me to his roommate, who was another divorced guy who had a young daughter. They were sharing a big house together. It was very nice. It was in a wooded area. And we went for a walk in the wooded area. We sat on the porch with his roommate and talked for a while. And we listened to music. Well, he actually played music for me downstairs in his basement. Actually, I think he did that first, maybe. And then we took the walk in the woods and met his roommate. But we just really got along well. And we were pretty inseparable after that. So it's interesting. 20 years is a really monumental landmark. And we celebrated by going to a winery yesterday, which was 20 years since we first met. And, we had the wine, the meat, the cheese, the olives, the crackers, the special, really inexpensive butter to go on these baguette type sliced up breads. I took some candies and some pistachio nuts. We had peanut butter and jelly flavored wine. It was really delicious. We just ate very slowly over a period of time, took a walk in the vineyard area that was, on the vineyard grounds. Beautiful, beautiful sunny day. And we took half a bottle and a full bottle of wine and some of our food home. So we still have wine and cheese and crackers and things for today, which is 20 years ago that we had our first date. But, thinking about 20 years, this is what I would say about 20 years in a relationship. First of all, the most important thing is to be honest with yourself about issues, to be honest with your partner about issues. No matter how much you fear confrontation, you need to speak up. Speaking up about something you know your partner won't be happy with does not mean delivering the message like a punch. It could be something like, "Honey, I need to talk to you." And to talk to your partner at a time when you know they aren't going anywhere, they have plenty of time, not when they're rushing out the door or have some big event in 15 minutes or an hour. You don't want to throw them off and, hurt them or get into an argument or anything right before some big event happens, right? But I would say honesty is very important. And you got to be honest with yourself, though. to be honest with someone else. If you don't like something, don't keep trying to convince yourself you like it. If you see yourself beginning to feel like you're going to derail and do something damaging to the relationship, don't keep trying to put a spin on things. Confront things within yourself with the reality of things, even if it's hard, even if you feel guilty, even if you feel scared. And then say to yourself, if I were my partner, would I need to know this? Would I want to know this? Would it be harmful if I keep it a secret? So I think communication is extremely important, honest communication. And it really does start with being honest with yourself first. I think it's really important for people to look at life in terms of short run and long run, because we all want things at times within a short run, but we know it could be damaging us in a long run situation. For instance, if you buy something you may absolutely want, you might think it's going to be great, it's going to be exciting, it's going to solve your emotional issues at the time, but it's going to put you in great debt and hurt you later, then you don't get it, or you figure out a way to get it over time. If you find that somebody else is just starting to attract you and you're starting to think about going outside of your relationship, you really got to say to yourself, do I really want the destruction of my relationship? And also, has this person who's currently catching my eye and seeming so shiny and new, has this person weathered the things with me that the person I'm with right now has? An example is, has that person visited your family and even spent time with your more difficult family members? Has that person paid bills with you, and have they done it over time? Has that person gone to the doctor with you if you're someone who has a lot of conditions or something? Have they been there for you when you've really needed them? Does that person understand your childhood dramas? A lot of times people get sidetracked with someone new because they're pretty or complimentary or something, but they don't really think about the fact that person has not had to live life with you, and so they have not had to endure anything. They've not had to compromise with you. They've not had to sacrifice anything with you or for you. So of course it's easy for them to look special and brighter and better maybe than where you're currently at. But I think that's something that's really important, is to think about the long run, what you really want in the long run. And the other thing to think about is, in your heart of hearts, do you want to hurt the person you're with? It's very easy, I think, to think to yourself, well, if they don't find out that I'm doing something on the side, then they won't get hurt. But they do get hurt. And here's the thing. If you're sidetracking yourself with someone else, you are taking that time and putting it over here with someone else. And you are taking your emotions and your mental capacity and you're spending it fantasizing and doing things with someone else. You aren't spending that time and that energy on communicating and making things better with the person you're with. And a lot of times people who get derailed in a relationship will say to themselves, well, my partner isn't perfect. They didn't do this, this, and that, or they did too much of this, or whatever. It's their fault if I get derailed. But it's actually your fault if you get derailed, because you probably aren't spending enough time communicating honestly. But again, that comes down to being honest with yourself first, calling yourself out and saying, okay, I'm making excuses for things. I'm putting a spin on things that I know isn't really true or good. Um, so I would say that honesty and focus are two things that are very important to maintain a long-term relationship. The other thing is accepting what you cannot change, because there's some things you just can't change. For instance, I said to my boyfriend once, he was talking about having a poster of Victoria Principal, the actress, during the 70s in his bedroom. And I said, well, if that's your type, your ultimate type, and if you still think you need someone who is your type, your favorite type, I should say, you'll never like me that much, you know, because I'm more like Princess Diana. I'm not like Victoria Principal. And so it's important to be able to accept the things you can't change for yourself, within yourself, about yourself, and your partner. My boyfriend loves to joke around, and he's got a great sense of humor, and we joke around all the time. But there is a time where it's kind of like, okay, I feel like I'm sitting around with Jim Carrey and Robin Williams, and they never stop being funny, and sometimes I got to be more serious. Or at certain times, certain events, I need to be more serious. And he said to me, well, maybe my ideal type person is someone who can accept that in me all the time. I'm like, maybe. I don't know. But I am a Cancer. That's my astrological sign. I was born July 10th. And my boyfriend always says, oh, you're a Cancer. You do everything in multiples. Everything has to multiply. You can never get just one of something. You know, you have to feed 12 squirrels. You can't just feed one squirrel. You have to feed every animal that comes into the yard. You can't just feed one squirrel. If you like something, you have to buy a bunch of them. You buy them in different colors. You know, if you're going to get snacks, you buy a ton of snacks. And I always say, well, you never know what your guests are really going to want. And what if every single guest wants some of everything? And I always have my reasons for like overdoing things. But you have to be able to accept that there's some things that can change some, but I personally don't believe people change 100%. I think people can change. I think people probably, if they make an effort to change something, they may change like 20 to 80%, but I still think people never are able to 100% change something that is just an embedded personality trait. Just a minute. I wondered what was going on out in the hallway, so I had to find out. All right. Um, I would say that something that's really important for the success of a relationship, well, I said accepting what you can't change, and that goes for past events. If there are things in your past which you just think, you know, they shouldn't have happened, they're unfair, that makes me cry, I'm so mad, how could you do this? You can't change the past. So you have to kind of say to yourself, okay, whatever that was, can we change this together so it doesn't happen again? But you have to accept what you cannot change, and you cannot change the past. So you have to be able to say, okay, is fighting about something that's already happened really worth it, or is it just going to ruin my now and my future. And I think what people really have to understand is that accepting something does not mean giving it a stamp of approval. Accepting something means saying, okay, I know I can't change it. It is what it is. It happened. It's always going to be there. But that's different than saying, oh, gee, I'm glad it happened, or, oh, yeah, right, good for hurting me, good for misunderstanding me, good for doing things that aggravate me, whatever. That's a difference. I remember one time talking to my boyfriend, and he asked me what my definition of love was, and I rattled on and on about having things in common, doing things together, but it's good to be independent so you have something new to bring back to your relationship and discuss. But I was talking about all kinds of things, chemistry and blah, blah, blah. It's going on, and I said, and sometimes you just plain have to sacrifice. And he said he thinks of love as a bunch of happy moments, and he never thinks of it as being something that involves sacrifice. So this is what I think. Love someone, adore someone, but be prepared to focus on them and be thankful for all of their good qualities. Focus on what they have going well and good for them, and focus on the good more than the bad. And on the days they hurt you, frustrate you, aggravate you, confuse you, focus on loving them and appreciating them even more. And it's harder, but I think that's important to do so you continue to act in a civil and respectful way. And I do think relationships, even the best relationships, involve sacrifice because people are so different. Even if they think they have a lot in common, there's just so many factors in life that can confuse and drag people as individuals and as a couple down. There can be health issues, there can be work issues, there can be family issues within your immediate family and extended family. There can be friends who interfere with things. There can be great opportunities, or sometimes it seems like there's an imbalance in what's going on because one person will have a lot of opportunities and luck and the other person won't, and you've got to lift each other up and you've got to work together. And really, in a relationship, nobody is winning anything unless both people are winning together. People who need to be superior in a relationship, ultra controlling in a relationship, be the one who has the upper hand, be the one who's always right. If you're beating your partner down or secretly hoping to keep them down or hoping always to feel superior to them, then you're not going to allow yourself to be in a relationship with an equal person. And you're going to hurt them and their potential for success and happiness, but you're also going to hurt your own. So you really have to learn to be happy for other people, even on your worst days. So anyway, 20 years is a wonderful thing, but it's not just about kisses and hugs and being cute together and taking pictures and drinking wine. It's about enjoying each other, being willing to work together with one another, always being grateful for the things that are going well, and it really is a long run and not a sprint. It really is. So I am so happy that my boyfriend and I have reached 20 years. It's amazing. I would say most of the time we got along well, but we definitely had some differences of opinions, definitely had some communication issues, and we actually spent a lot of time between year 18 and year 20 relearning how to communicate with each other, learning how to communicate better, learning to be honest about things. Not that we went around just, a total mess before that, but we learned that we needed to, I think, really understand what each other's journey has been like over time in this relationship. You know, I did this because I was coping with that. Oh, you're saying you did what you did because of that. You know, I think really understanding each other's journey, understanding how different life issues had an effect, and also understanding um, one another's communication styles. Because it's very easy to read into things and to think that someone's ignoring you, or someone doesn't like you, or someone doesn't want to be there and support you in something. But if you aren't helping them to understand what you need, and you aren't understanding what their hesitations are, their mental blocks are, their emotional issues are, um, you might just totally misinterpret somebody else and go off half-cocked and do things that you shouldn't in order to deal with the situation, which you really could just discuss and potentially resolve pretty darn quickly. So anyway, I could go on and probably just repeat the same things over and over eventually. But it's amazing to me how people can be together for a long period of time and then come to a point where maybe everything even explodes for some reason. And then you talk about things and realize that there was so much, I don't want to say anguish because that sounds extreme, but there was so much frustration over things that could have been minimized and smoothed out years earlier. So, anyway, cheers to making it 20 years with the same guy. I never thought that would be possible for me. And I guess we'll see what the future brings. It's really a humbling thing to think that you get to be a part of somebody's life and you get to have such a big responsibility in helping them to be the best person they can be and the happiest person they can be. Yeah, it's a very humbling, honorable type thing. Anyway.